Hello everybody, this is Red Bananas 1210, and we've got here some pros and cons about beer and vagina. These are really funny, I think, and really good, so listen closely. We've got ourselves a running tally, so I'll tell you where the point goes to. Number 1, beer is always wet. Vagina needs a little work. 1 point to beer. Warm beer tastes awful. 1 point to vagina. A really cold beer is satisfying. 1 point to beer. You don't have to worry about finding a hair in your beer. Vagina is a different story. 1 point to beer. If you get home reeking of beer, your wife may get mad, make a scene, kick you out, etc. If you get home reeking of vagina, your wife may get mad, kick you out, even leave you. There's definitely a point to be had here, depending on your point of view and personal circumstances. I'll just call it a draw for the time being. 10 beers in one night and you can't drive home. 10 vaginas in one night and you don't want to drive anywhere. 1 point to vagina. If you have a lot of beer in a public place, your reputation may suffer. If you eat any vagina in public, you've become a legend. 1 point to vagina. If a cop stops you and you smell of beer, you may get arrested. If you smell vagina, he may buy you a beer. 1 point to vagina. You normally don't find old beer. 1 point to beer. Too much beer and you'll think too much beer and you will think you see flying saucers. Too much vagina and you'll think you've seen God. 1 point to vagina. Ripping off a beer bottle label is boring. Ripping off panties is fun. 1 point to vagina. In most countries, there's a tax on beer. 1 point to vagina. If you have another beer, the first one never gets pissed off. 1 point to beer. You can always be sure if you're the first one to open a bottle or a can. 1 point to beer. If you shake beer, it'll get all agitated, but eventually it settles down. 1 point to beer. With beer, you always have choice: clear, dark, pilsner, ale, lager, etc. With vagina, you also have a choice: white, black, Asian, Hispanic, and Eskimo. Call it a draw. You always know how much beer is going to cost. 1 point to beer. Beer doesn't have a mother. 1 point to beer. Beer never expects to be hugged for half an hour after you drink it. 1 point to beer. An excess amount of vagina will not force you to have your liver detoxified in the emergency room. 1 point to vagina. Your access to beer is not limited by menstruation cycles, emotions, principles, or your beer is just tired and or not in the mood. 1 point to beer. Having an open beer in your car is illegal. Having a girl in your car without pants on is just fucking cool. 1 point to vagina. Beer will never complain about how fast you are done with it and on to the next one. 1 point to beer. No matter how many times you partake, the opening to a bottle, can of beer never gets stretched out to where it's no longer enjoyable. 1 point to beer. If you're at a party and you grab a beer, regardless where you pick it up, there's absolutely no chance that beer will give you a disease that will ruin your life. 1 point to beer. Vagina from places other than Germany, Ireland, and Canada are worth enjoying. The same cannot be said for beer. 1 point to vagina. Vagina makes you erect and wet. Beer gives you erectile dysfunction and dehydrates you. 1 point to vagina. You don't have to take beer to dinner and a movie to enjoy it. 1 point to beer. If beer gives head, it's a bad thing. If vagina gives head, it's all good. 1 point to vagina. 2 beers at one time and you're content, but 2 vaginas at one time and you're in heaven. 1 point to vagina. 1 too many beers can ruin a night. 1 too many vaginas. Well now, there's no such thing. 1 point to vagina. If you throw up after drinking a lot of beer, you've had a good night. If you throw up after having vagina, you need to go to the doctor. 1 point to beer. You don't have to be 21 to get vagina legally. 1 point to vagina. The going rate for beer is around $13 at a bar. The going rate for vagina is about $50 on the street. 1 point to beer. Waking up next to a disgusted beer is not as bad as waking up next to an ugly woman. Disgusting beer is not as bad as waking up to an ugly woman. 1 point to beer. You might wonder what you're drinking if beer doesn't have a label, But if the girl doesn't have clothes on, then you can care less. 1 point to vagina. If one of your friends drinks your beer, it's fine. But if they hook up with your vagina, then you have a problem. 1 point to beer. I've had more lucky shoulder tapping for beer than I had for vagina. 1 point to beer. It's simple. Stick your dick in a beer can and see how that goes. Stick your dick in a vagina and, well, enjoy. 1 point to vagina. Beer will not cook you breakfast in the morning. 1 point to vagina. Beer doesn't need more than a sip every once in a while to keep it happy. 1 point to beer. Beer can turn green if left out too long. Vagina can turn green also if left out too long, but you can stomach the beer. 1 point to beer. Beer doesn't expect you to shower gifts upon it every anniversary. It doesn't even expect anniversaries. 1 point to beer. When you finish a beer, seeing it later again is a bad thing. When you are finished with the vagina, seeing it again later is usually a good thing. 1 point to vagina. It takes multiple beers to get the feeling you're after. It should only take one vagina. 1 point to vagina. Beer fills a void inside your soul. You fill a void inside a vagina. Call it draw. Beer tends to be STD free. 1 point to beer. Beer never checks out other potential partners. The same cannot be said for vagina. 1 point to beer. You can always enjoy beer without a tightly wrapped piece of plastic around your penis. 1 point to beer. Beer's angry stepdad won't kick your ass for sleeping with his little angel. 1 point to beer. Beer doesn't have DUFF, designated ugly fat friend. 1 point to beer. Beer gets you drunk. Beer gets vagina drunk. Vagina gets horny. You get whiskey dick. Vagina gets mad. You tell the vagina to leave. It's vagina's place. She tells you to leave. You throw up. You leave vagina's place and pass out in the snowbank. You die. Or you get drunk and play hockey. 1 point to hockey. Beer doesn't ask, was it good for you? Beer knows. 1 point to beer. If beer is flat, it can't make up for it anywhere else. 1 point to vagina. Beer is legal to buy, but if you get caught buying vagina, you're going to jail. 1 point to beer. We have beer 28, vagina 22, hockey 1. Submit video responses or comments with your own takes on beer vagina, and I might put it in a later video. So once again, thanks for watching. This is Bananas 1210. See you next time.